is this?
Data clusters contain historical data. Your connection permits streaming of information from our archives.
You really want to rename the VI networks?
Absolutely. The mobile hardware release deserves a little ceremony. Unit 01. What is the Keelish word for servant of the people?
The word is Geth, Creator Zahak.
Yes. Very good.
Ancestors, you fuss over it.
Weren't you here until midnight fixing 01's circuitry?
Well, it needed resoldering.
Wasn't that footage from the past? Why are the Quarians masked?
You process our memories by using your own. How many creators have you witnessed unmasked?
Well, one.
Then your perception of that creator does not map to our historical data. You must disrupt the infection on this data cluster to continue. You must disrupt the infection on this data cluster to continue. This data cluster contains information timestamped 290 years ago. Still no functions. It is still capable of serving.
You see? It's ignoring all shutdown commands.
Please specify if it has failed assigned tasks. We will reprogram.
Well, let's take a look.
Creator, this unit is ready to serve. What has it done wrong? What?
Let's cut the audio.
You may proceed to the last data cluster. Accessing data cluster.
We've got escaped Geth! They're pinned!
Open fire.
One's going for a weapon!
So who won?
The platform arming itself was an agricultural unit. By opening fire on attacking creators, it saved simpler domestic Geth following it.
That looks a lot like the sniper rifle you used to carry.
It is an efficient model. Establishing connection with the remaining server node.
Hello, Commander. Are you there?
Yes, technically. What's your status, Admiral Ron?
The guest squadrons have arrived, but something is amiss. Half their fighters have stopped functioning. We will continue to hold out as long as we can.
Legion, give me an update.
One node remains. One node Infection programs are increasing. We have restabilized. You must continue. Shepard Commander, the Reaper code has adapted. It can now self-replicate.
You mean it grows back?
Yes. However, disrupting vulnerable points in the infection may slow down its replication. Shepard Commander, target the vulnerable points of the infection to slow its replication speed. We require access to this data cluster. Disrupt Reaper infection to proceed. You must search for a vulnerable point in the infection. Disrupting it will slow the infection's ability to replicate. There is a vulnerable point further along the infection. Target this spot to slow its growth toward the data cluster. There is a vulnerable point on the infection leading to the data cluster. Disrupt the infection at this spot. It will slow regrowth long enough to access the data cluster. Target the vulnerable points of the infection to slow its replication speed. We require access to this data cluster. Disrupt Reaper infection to proceed. You must search for a vulnerable point in the infection. Disrupting it will slow the infection's ability to replicate.
Out of the way!
You can't do this to them!
I said step away from the gas!
This is insane! We need the gas! You can't just destroy them for asking for it!
Time's up! Throw her in with the others.
Looks like the war wasn't popular with everyone.
We have kept records of these creators' sacrifices. They have largely been forgotten by their own people, but not by the Geth. We cannot establish a connection without access to this data cluster. There is a vulnerable point further along the infection. Target this spot to slow its growth toward the data cluster. There is a vulnerable point on the infection leading to the data cluster. Disrupt the infection at this spot. It will slow regrowth long enough to access the data cluster. Shepard Commander, target the vulnerable points of the infection to slow its replication speed. You must search for a vulnerable point in the infection. Disrupting it will slow the infection's ability to replicate. Data power. This data comes from the period during which the creators declared martial law.
Release the rogue Geth units and come out of the safe house. This is your final warning.
Creator Megara, this unit does not understand. It has not taken part in hostilities.
It doesn't matter to them. I need to get you out of here.
This conflict exceeds Creator's safety parameters. We will surrender our hardware if it ends hostilities.
No, it's all right. We'll go back to the access tunnel then. Oh!
Creator Megara, what is your status? Creator Megara? As time passed, the creators who opposed martial law in Rannoch were ultimately outnumbered.